We spend so much of our lives giving energy away without realizing it. Every time you try to prove something to someone who's already made up their mind about you, you give a piece of yourself away. Every time you replay a conversation in your head, thinking about what you should have said, you give a little more away. And every time you measure your progress by someone else's success, you drain the energy you could have used to move yourself forward. The truth is, you can't build peace while trying to please. You can't grow when your focus is scattered across people who don't even think about you when they go to bed at night. And you can't transform your life when your attention is glued to everything you can't control. There's a shift that happens the moment you realize this, a quiet but powerful shift. It's the moment you stop trying to manage how others see you and start managing how you see yourself. You stop fighting for space in other people's stories and start writing your own. That's when things begin to change, not instantly, but deeply. It's easy to fall into the trap of trying to fix everything around you. To think that if you just explain yourself a little better, work a little harder, or care a little more, things will finally make sense. But that's not how energy works. Energy flows where attention goes. If your attention is on things that drain you, arguments, comparison, judgment, then that's where your energy will live. And that's why you feel tired, stuck, or unmotivated. It's not because you're weak. It's because you've been spending your power in all the wrong places. Think about it. What if you took all the effort you used trying to be understood and redirected it into understanding yourself? What if the same time you spend thinking about who doesn't support you, you used to support yourself? Imagine how different your days would feel. Because the truth is, peace doesn't come from control. It comes from clarity. When you stop chasing people's approval, you start finding your own rhythm. You start seeing how much of your worth was never tied to what anyone else thought about you. You start realizing that validation feels good, sure, but it's temporary. Confidence, on the other hand, is built internally. It's the quiet knowing that you're enough, even when no one's clapping. And when you shift your energy back to yourself, everything changes. Your conversations change because you no longer argue to be right. You speak to stay calm. Your priorities change because not everything deserves your reaction anymore. Your relationships change because you stop begging to be seen and start showing up as someone who already sees their own value. That's the beauty of focusing on yourself. It's not selfishness, it's self-respect. It's saying, I can't control how they treat me, but I can control how I treat myself. It's knowing that your energy is precious, your peace is priceless, and your growth is personal. You'll notice that when you stop pouring energy into what you can't control, life starts feeling lighter. You have more room to breathe, more time to think, more power to build, because all that effort you used to spend worrying, you've turned it into momentum, you've turned it into focus. So the next time you feel yourself getting caught in the noise, pause. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Most of the time it's not. Because your energy is the most valuable thing you own. Don't waste it trying to fix what was never your responsibility. Use it to build the life you actually want. That's how transformation begins, not with control, but with clarity. Not by fighting for attention, but by reclaiming your focus. Shift your energy inward, and watch how the world around you starts to shift too. Awareness is one of those things that sounds simple, but it's not easy. It's not about just knowing what's happening. It's about seeing yourself clearly without judgment. Most people move through life on autopilot. They react, repeat, and wonder why things never change. But transformation starts the moment you stop running on default and start paying attention. You can't change what you don't notice. You can't break a pattern you refuse to look at. And you can't grow if you're not honest about where you are right now. Awareness isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about catching yourself in real time. When you're about to complain and you notice it. When you feel jealous and instead of denying it, you pause and ask yourself why. That's awareness. That's the start of growth. There's power in noticing your own thoughts, because thoughts are sneaky. They build quietly in the background until they shape how you feel, how you act, and even how you see yourself. Maybe you've been telling yourself stories like, "I'm not good enough," or "things never work out for me." You repeat it so often that it becomes truth in your head. But awareness gives you a chance to interrupt that loop, to say, "Wait, is that actually true? Or is that just what I've been telling myself for years?" That question alone can shift your entire mindset. Because most of what holds us back isn't the situation, it's the story we've attached to it. Awareness helps you separate those two. It reminds you that just because you feel something doesn't mean it's fact. And when you realize that, you start gaining control. It's not about being positive all the time. It's about being conscious. When you're aware, you start to see the little triggers that pull you off balance. You start noticing how certain people drain you, how certain habits keep you stuck, how certain thoughts replay every time you're afraid to take a step forward. That's not weakness, it's insight. And insight is the foundation of every transformation. You can't grow in darkness, you have to turn the lights on, and sometimes that means facing things you've avoided, the truth about your habits, the truth about your comfort zone, the truth about the parts of you that still need healing. It's uncomfortable, but that discomfort is the doorway to change. The same awareness that makes you realize, "I'm not where I want to be," is the exact awareness that helps you start walking toward where you do want to be. The thing is, awareness doesn't mean overthinking. It's not about judging every move or being hard on yourself. It's about observation, not criticism. When you mess up, you notice. When you procrastinate, you admit it. When you react instead of respond, you own it. That's how you break patterns, not through shame, but through understanding. Because once you understand why you do something, you have the power to choose differently next time. Imagine you're driving a car with dirty windows. You can't see clearly. You keep missing turns, bumping into things, getting frustrated. Cleaning those windows doesn't change the road, but it changes how you see it. That's what awareness does. It doesn't erase the challenges, but it helps you navigate them with more clarity, more intention, more peace. And here's what's beautiful. Awareness grows stronger with practice. The more you pause and check in with yourself, the easier it gets. You start catching things faster. You start responding instead of reacting. You start noticing how certain choices affect your peace. That's the shift. The moment life stops just happening to you, and you start participating in it. Awareness is the light switch to transformation. You can't heal what you hide. You can't evolve if you're blind to your own patterns. But when you start paying attention, really paying attention, you begin to see that every moment gives you a choice, stay the same or shift, and every time you choose awareness, you choose power. That's where transformation begins, not in trying to control the world outside, but in understanding the world within. Because once you're aware, you're no longer reacting blindly, you're responding with purpose. You're living awake, and that's where real change lives. Your peace is your power, and the way you protect it determines how far you'll go. The world will always pull at your attention. Notifications, opinions, expectations. Everything around you is built to distract you. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your whole day reacting instead of creating. You'll wake up tired not because you worked hard, but because your mind never stopped running. Protecting your mental space isn't just about avoiding negativity. It's about choosing where your focus lies and who gets access to it. Every time you give your energy to drama, gossip, or arguments that lead nowhere, you're giving away a part of yourself you'll never get back. It's not about pretending you don't care, it's about caring wisely, because attention is currency. What you pay attention to, you invest in, and some things are too expensive for the peace they cost you. Think about it. You can scroll for an hour and end up feeling worse than before. You can read one comment online and let it ruin your whole mood. You can replay one bad memory and drain the joy out of your present moment. That's the cost of unprotected focus. The The more you give it away to things that don't grow you, the less you have left for what truly matters. Your mind is a space where only a few things deserve to live. And you get to decide who and what gets in. When you protect that space, you start to see how powerful focus really is. You stop reacting to every little thing. You stop chasing approval or defending your worth. You start saving your energy for what builds you instead of what breaks you. It's not easy, though. Protecting your peace means setting boundaries that not everyone will understand. It means saying no without guilt. It means walking away from conversations that used to pull you in. And it means being okay with silence, because sometimes silence is the only place where your thoughts can breathe. People will test your boundaries. They'll poke, they'll provoke, they'll push, but here's the truth. Not everything requires your reaction. Some things just need your distance. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to correct every misunderstanding. Peace isn't found in proving your point, it's found in knowing your point doesn't need proving. When you start protecting your mental space, life slows down in the best way. You notice things you used to miss. The sound of your own breath, the calm in your own voice, the freedom in not needing to be everywhere or please everyone. You realize that peace isn't something you find, it's something you create. It's the result of daily choices. Choosing stillness over noise, choosing perspective over reaction, choosing to respond from clarity, not chaos. Protecting your mental space also means being careful with what you feed your mind. The conversations you keep, the content you consume, the thoughts you repeat, they all shape your energy. You can't expect peace when you constantly feed your mind conflict. You can't expect focus when your attention is scattered across everything but your goals. Be intentional. Ask yourself, is this adding peace to my mind or pressure to my heart? If it's the latter, let it go. Your focus is your fuel. Waste it, and you'll always feel drained. Guard it, and you'll move through life with power. Because clarity comes when your mind is quiet enough to listen, and when you start listening, you realize most of the noise wasn't yours to begin with. It was everyone else's expectations echoing in your head. So, create distance from what disturbs your peace. Unfollow, mute, pause, whatever it takes. Protect your mental space like it's sacred, because it is. That's where your dreams form. That's where your purpose grows. That's where you meet the real you, the one who doesn't need chaos to feel alive, who doesn't need attention to feel enough. When you stop letting everything in, you make room for what truly matters. You stop running on mental fumes and start moving with intention. And in that quiet space, life starts to make sense again. Protect your peace, protect your focus, because that's where your transformation begins, inside a mind that finally feels safe enough to grow. It's easy to look at someone else's life and think they've got it all figured out. The success, the confidence, the peace, they make it look effortless, and in those moments you start comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. You start questioning your pace, your progress, your worth. But comparison is a thief that doesn't just steal your joy, it steals your focus. It convinces you that you're losing a race that was never meant to be competed. Here's the truth most people miss. Someone else's success isn't your loss. Their growth doesn't block your path. Their light doesn't dim yours. The world isn't running out of opportunities, only out of people willing to stay patient enough to find them. When you learn to look at others and feel inspired instead of intimidated, everything shifts. Because comparison drains you, but inspiration fuels you. The problem is, comparison disguises itself as motivation. You see someone doing what you want to do, and instead of feeling encouraged, you start feeling smaller. You start keeping score. You start thinking, they're ahead and I'm behind. But there is no scoreboard. There's only direction, and the only person you're supposed to be catching up to is the version of you that stopped believing. When you compare, you disconnect from your own path. You stop noticing your progress because you're too busy measuring someone else's results. But you don't know their story. You don't see the late nights, the failures, the doubt that came before the breakthrough. You don't see the sacrifices they made or the seasons they struggled in silence. You're comparing your middle to their highlight, and that's never fair. The moment you realize that your journey doesn't have to look like anyone else's, you start to breathe again. You stop rushing. You stop forcing. You start trusting your timing, because maybe your path is taking longer, because you're building something that's meant to last. Maybe you're learning lessons that will make your foundation unshakable. Everyone's story unfolds differently, and that's the beauty of it. Turning comparison into inspiration is a conscious choice. It's looking at someone's success and saying, if they can, I can too. It's understanding that their achievement isn't a threat, it's proof. Proof that what you want is possible, proof that the dream isn't too big, the goal isn't too far. You don't have to envy them, you can learn from them, you can let their story fuel your belief instead of feeding your doubt. When you make that shift, your energy changes. You stop being bitter and start being better. You start clapping for others genuinely, not because you have to, but because you understand that we all rise when we stop competing and start supporting. You realize that gratitude and growth can exist at the same time. You can be proud of how far you've come and still be excited for what's next. The truth is, comparison blinds you to your blessings. It tricks you into thinking you're behind when in reality, you're exactly where you need to be. You're learning what you need to learn, growing how you're meant to grow. You don't have to rush. You don't have to prove. You just have to keep showing up, keep doing the work, and keep believing that your moment will come too. So, next time you catch yourself comparing, pause, ask yourself what that feeling is trying to teach you. Maybe it's not jealousy, it's a reminder of what you truly want. Maybe it's your potential whispering, don't give up, just refocus. Use that as fuel. Let it push you forward, not pull you down, because when you stop comparing, you start creating. You stop competing for attention and start building your lane. You start seeing others' success, not as a spotlight you lost, but as a light that shows you the way. And when you shift that mindset, when you turn comparison into inspiration, you stop walking in insecurity and start walking in purpose. That's when transformation begins. Not when you try to be like someone else, but when you finally realize you were never meant to be anyone but you. Real transformation doesn't need an announcement. It doesn't need an audience or applause. It happens quietly, behind closed doors, in moments no one sees. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's the quiet decision to keep showing up for yourself even when no one's watching. Real growth isn't about proving that you've changed. It's about becoming so consistent, so grounded, that the change speaks for itself. You see, we live in a world where everyone wants to show progress before they've actually made it. We rush to post the wins, the glow, ups, the breakthroughs, but transformation doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in silence. It happens in the mornings when you wake up tired but choose discipline over excuses. It happens in the late nights when you could give up but decide to try one more time. It happens in the quiet space between who you were and who you're becoming. The truth is, growth feels lonely sometimes. Because the deeper you work on yourself, the fewer people will understand what you're doing. They might not see the effort you're putting in, the boundaries you're setting, the battles you're fighting within. But that's okay. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for the version of you that promised to never go back to old habits, old patterns, and old pain. Transformation doesn't always look exciting. Sometimes it looks like deleting contacts that no longer bring peace. Sometimes it's sitting alone on a Friday night because you're choosing solitude over chaos. Sometimes it's walking away from the things you once begged for because now you know your worth. That's the kind of change that doesn't make noise, but it makes impact. The hardest part of growing is staying patient while nothing seems to be happening. You'll question yourself. You'll wonder if it's even working. But that's what transformation feels like in real time. It's slow, quiet, and uncomfortable. It's the seed underground. No one can see it, but something powerful is forming. And one day, All that quiet effort breaks through the surface, and suddenly everyone notices. But you'll know it didn't happen suddenly. It happened silently over time, one small decision at a time. When you work in silence, you protect your process. You stop needing validation to keep going. You stop explaining yourself to people who aren't ready to understand. You give yourself room to make mistakes without judgment and to restart without fear. Because when you're not performing for approval, you start growing for real. You stop chasing progress that looks good and start creating progress that feels good. And the beautiful thing is, people will notice eventually. They'll see your calm, they'll feel your confidence, they'll sense your peace. You won't have to say a word. Your energy will speak louder than any explanation could. That's the power of silent transformation. It changes your presence before it changes your appearance. It strengthens you from the inside out. It takes maturity to be okay with being unseen while you grow. It takes strength to stay consistent without recognition. But remember, the results you're waiting for are being built in the silence you're sitting in. Every small act of discipline is building a new version of you. Every moment of restraint, every quiet decision to keep going, it all adds up. So stop rushing to prove your progress. Stop explaining your peace. Just focus on the work, focus on becoming, because when the time is right, your transformation will speak for you. It'll show in your tone, your boundaries, your confidence, and your calm. You won't have to tell people you've changed. They'll just feel it. Growth isn't about being louder. It's about being stronger, softer, wiser. It's about learning that peace is better than attention, and consistency is louder than words. Keep working in silence. Keep building in private. Because one day, when your transformation finally shows, it won't need an introduction at all, just be undeniable.